going to be talking about channels and a couple other things in the process as to how you develop your business. One of them is called long tail. This is a graph of a long tail. You'll see that you have a vertical axis and you have a horizontal axis, but you'll see this big long tail. And the tail actually means something. And we'll talk more about that. It really is the artistry of it is selling less of more. So that being said, you can charge a really high price for highly customized items. A large number is products targeted for specific niches. A large number charge a high price. You're after this little niche over here. But because that niche is so desirable, you can make a lot of profit out of it. High profit, low volume items. It's almost the inverse of what we think an awful lot when we talk about mass marketing. Mass marketing is lots of volume and sales out there with low profitability. This is the inverse. The advantage of it, especially with the small businesses, you have low inventory costs, but you have to have a strong selling platform when it comes down to it. It could be personal sales. It could be a high quality website in the process that you have people following up. You have human beings answering your phone instead of AIs answering your phone. So make certain, if you're looking at this is a wonderful opportunity because it's customizable when it comes down to it. It takes on different forms too. A lot of times there's a one-person show and they specialize in customizing things for their customer. It really is based upon what we call the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle. And the Italian economist, Pareto, he said roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. You'll see this pattern repeated an awful lot in life. He sat down and applied it really on the economy, but he looked at a couple things. Number one, it was about distribution of income and wealth among the population, but it ended up becoming what we call a power law of distribution. If you sit down and ever work in an organization, I have a big background in human resources. I can promise you this, 20% of the people cause 80% of the problems. You have 80% of the people dealing with a teeny tiny problem, but you always have that ratio of about 80-20 in different parts, and we call it a power law of distribution. So that being said, 80% of sales come from 20% of the clients. So maybe it's a good idea to get rid of the other 80% of the clients and focus in on that high clientele. In another class, I talk about the aspect of having your clients into 4 different categories, A, B, C, and D categories. The A ones are your prime customers. Always take care of your A clients. Your B clients, they'll always be there anyway because you probably have a good business model. And the C clients, they can be difficult to work with or they're marginal and maybe it's not worth your time chasing them unless you think they become a B client. And your D clients, a lot of times they cause so much pain and aggravation, you just want them gone and sit down and focus in where your money is and where your best clients are, your A group. That really is the 80-20 rule in action. So we talk about the long tail, you'll see the model that works in a lot of different areas. It really has a significant parallel to what we call the product life cycle. Introduction of a new product, growth, maturity, decline. So you have the 4 different groups. Your introduction of a life cycle of a new product really is about 2.5 to 6% of the entire consumer spectrum. And then you have a whole series of different things. You can kind of see it over here. Introduction, growth, maturity, decline, that group at the very front tip of it, okay, in the introduction, they always have to have the newest, the best, the coolest things out there. They're the ones that go outside of a store and they sit out there in a sleeping bag, freeze to death in the middle of the rain, snow, or whatever. And they have to be the first ones to sit down and pay the top dollar to the newest cool thing coming out. We really pay a lot of attention to them because of the fact that you call them up and say, well, how is that new iPhone 42 doing? Okay, you don't know they're making that. They probably already are. And if they are, these people know. We call them the innovators. Okay, so the innovators in the introduction phase, people pay a lot of attention to them because they're out there squandering excess money because they want to be on the cutting edge of things. That is what we really want to focus in for the long tail. It's a big thing. You want to grab the hearts of the innovators by customizing just for them. They want to be special, treat them special, and court them because of the fact you can make a lot of money off of them, but you're going to have to work hard for those A-list customers in the process. Then you have that growth group over there. Now you'll see there on the product life cycle, if you look on the profit line, the most profit you'll get is in that growth sector here. So if you want to really capitalize as an entrepreneur, you focus in on the first two quadrants here in the process. We call the first group the innovators. The next one is the early majority, we call them. The third quadrant, we call them the late majority. And the ones on the decline mode, we call them laggards in the process. Really, the long tail focuses in on the innovators, and to some extent, that group will be called the early majority because the profitability is there. This is really the first shot that BMW came out with an electric car. It has got to be one of the ugliest critters on the road. Like, oh my gosh, why would BMW, known for their slick, sporty, sexy cars out there, come up with this thing over here? They wanted to capture the heart of electric vehicles and let everybody know this is our footprint out over here. We're going to be out there, but here's our first one. You ought to wait to see what we have coming because we're BMW. Yeah, that's exactly what this car is. It is a stake in the ground with the innovators saying, we're here. And we may not be pretty today, but we're going to be awesome later. Come buy us. They hardly sold any of these because this is a long tail product made by a company that produces massive amounts of cars. It was deliberate, it was premeditated in the process. They never intended to make almost any money on this vehicle at all. As a matter of fact, it depends which journal you read. They were losing between $8,000 and $11,000 on every car they sold, but they wanted to have a presence out there to make certain that people knew they're there and they're coming. Some products on a product life cycle will always exist. We'll always have crayons. We'll always have sidewalk chalk. There's different kind of product life cycles than the average one. For you in this world, though, of the long tail, you're focusing on this aspect over here. You're chasing those early influencers, those innovators in the process of the long tail. Focus in on that. You want to look on large number, low volume. Here's a couple of them. Stitch Fix. It's an online company and they customize clothes for the individual client. They have designers on hand. You put your order in and they make something up just for you to fit your personality, to fit your measurements and everything else. They customize clothing for people. Truegate, they customize the shoes. They don't have shoe sizes. They have you measure your foot and then you tell them the style you want and they make the shoes for you. Customize. Warby Parker. Online, they ship you 5 sets of glasses, you try them on, you tell them what you want, and they sit down and they take the ones back that you didn't want in the process. Nike ID, they have a store that you get to customize. You come in, they measure your foot, they customize a shoe for you. You get to choose your sole, you get to choose your laces, you get to choose your upper, you get to choose the style of logo that you have. Everything is all about you. They charge a fortune for the shoes, but the people that get them love them because they own the shoe, and Nike paid attention just to them, which is what the long tail is all about. Formaspace, they have lots of different things for customized areas, and they'll make them just for you. They have stuff already made, so boom, you can have it really fast, or they'll be happy to custom make them. If you're a skier, Atomic Ski Shoes. Yes, they large number, dollar figure wise, low volume. They don't sell a lot of them, but the ones they do are simply awesome to skiers for downhill in the process. Long tail, it's a niche seller's dream model. High dollar, low volume, it's the ultimate model for a highly customized market. Take care.